All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Open Live Q&A. This is week number 127, and my name is Mr. McLogan. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me in on this live stream. I had your comments over in front of me, and then I lost them, but now I got them. All right, awesome. So, Tavito, good to have you on, the Phantom. Thank you so much for joining in. Amateur, I will be able to get to you guys. I'm actually have a little paint on my hands, as you guys maybe can see. So I was actually just got inside just in time to go ahead and make the live stream. That's why I was a couple minutes late, so I do apologize. But I actually haven't had time to look at any of the questions. So we're going to do that in real time, kind of like the good old days. But if you do have any math questions, maybe you are taking summer classes, or you still maybe your school year is delayed, everything's kind of in the air, then everything's kind of a little bit different. You guys can definitely go and spend your questions to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. That is also in the chat as well as in the description. So if you want to use any links for there. And if I'm not able to get to your question tonight, I do apologize, guys, but I also do have a Discord server where there are students just like yourself that are able to answer your questions. So hopefully that can be helpful and a use for you, even if you are taking classes over the summer or not, or maybe you're just looking for some resources. I think one of the best things about the Discord server is, you can just chat with other people that are either good at math or have struggled with math, maybe have taken the same class that you have. If you're looking for some online resources, some maybe just some questions or some better understanding, like it's a great community to follow for, that kind of help or any really kind of help that you need along there, because obviously I am only one person. I can only make so many videos. And so I'm not going to be able to address everybody's issue and concern. So hopefully that's why hopefully the Discord server can be there for you guys. And that's why I created it. And hey, Wufina, happy to have you on. I'm so sick of math, but I need to learn. Yeah, I can feel it. It's been, anytime at the end of the year, a lot of times, you do need a break. And I do have a video talking about kind of summer school and, just taking a break, enjoying the end. But, in the reality too, like some of you need summer school, like some of you or, need to kind of stay fresh with the content that you learned, getting ready or getting prepared for the next course you have. How do I get a period, domain, and range of a trigonometric function? Well, I think it's most important to know the parent functions. If you know the parent functions, then because basically domain for sine and cosine is going to be all real numbers. But for the other ones, you got to know what the asymptotes are. So if you do have a particular problem, then send it over to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and I'll try to address it there. But yeah, basically you just need to know where the asymptotes are and then know where the transformations. Well, there's a lot of multiples of 6. So I'm not sure if you're talking about with multiple numbers. Multiples of 6 like 6, 12, 18. So you can keep on going on and on and on forever. The least and greatest common factors of 6. So the factors of 6 are 6, 1, 2, and 3. So I'm not sure. I think typically when you're dealing with the common factors and common multiples, you're dealing with common between like another number. So it'd be like 6 and 12 or 6 and 3, something like that, where you're going to have those common multiples. I'm not sure what you mean. What happened? What happened to you? Or maybe you're talking to somebody else. I don't know. There's a lot. I mean, every class and every textbook is going to be a little bit different. So I would definitely just go, go and take a look online and see what some books are. And, usually they're going to range anywhere from 10 to 14 topics. So typically when I would teach Algebra 2, it would be roughly around 10 chapters, I'd probably say we'd get into. And that's obviously changed from, my earlier years to recently. Just wanted to say hi because of finals in Cal class. Well, awesome. So happy for you, and so happy to be able to help you out. I could see it. And I have an Algebra 2 pre-calc following tomorrow. What do you think will be mostly on it? That is a great question. I have no idea, to be honest with you, but I'm assuming you've taken some trig. So typically, let me give you a little bit of advice. So typically what I've seen from finals, unless it's your teacher created, a lot of times finals, if it's based on like the, school or the university, a lot of them will be back end weighted, meaning majority of the content is from like the second semester and on. So if there's something to focus on, I would say for that. If it is teacher created, then your teacher, I tried to not back end create it. I tried to have mine throughout the whole content. So I was a little different, and, obviously you could have a teacher that'd be the same, but yeah, from what I've seen from like university and schools, a lot of times they'll have like a lot of the stuff that you learned at the end of the year is going to be a lot on the final exam. So just take that as a grain of salt. It could not be. And obviously I would just recommend go through all your tests, you have it tomorrow, right? So, maybe just do a breeze through all of your, look at all your tests and quizzes that you did just to kind of get it, refresh your memory of all the topics and to work that you did. And best of luck. I'm glad I'm out of school. I can feel it. Well, I mean, really anything. I mean, if you have 2 points, you can model it as a linear equation. So I think it's just going to be dependent on really what the context of the problem that you're doing. You know what? I have not done any collaborations with any YouTubers, math YouTubers. I have chatted with definitely a couple of them. Let's see. I've definitely chatted with Black Pen, Red Pen. I've definitely chatted with Mario's Math Tutoring, Math by Fives, chatted with them. Yay Math, chatted with him. So yeah, we're all like in the community, I've like spoken and, talked with them, but we haven't really done like a, collaboration. But if you do have any good ideas for a collaboration with other YouTubers, then I am all ears to kind of hear of something that would be of interest to you. Nothing has really ever like struck out to me as far as doing something that would be a great connection back and forth, with another YouTuber. So if you have maybe another idea, I'm all ears to kind of hear. Yeah, it's okay. Find discontinuities as a function. Well, yeah, you basically want to be able to, look at where the holes and the asymptotes are of a function. So really depends on what the function is. That if you have a particular problem, send it to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, because otherwise I could go through multiple different examples for you. So I'm assuming a lot of times these come from rational expressions, and that's where a very topic, question in there. And my advice to you on there, assuming you're talking about that, would be to look into factoring. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and open up at least the open Q&A just to kind of see what we are working with, because I have not even taken a look at it at all since last week. So hopefully you guys are not barraging me with questions. I think I saw 11. Oh, only 2. Awesome. You guys are like, uh-oh. I got to figure out where these are going. Okay. Cool. We only got like 2 questions, so this might be an early live stream. Singly, what is the best way to master all the math regions topics? I have no idea what's on the math regions, unfortunately. So I do not know. Moses, I can't plot quadratic and linear functions in a graph. Do you have any videos on that? Linear functions in a graph. Yeah, I mean, I do. I have a ton of questions. I'm not sure if you're meaning like plotting like using a table or plotting using like a graphing method. Because obviously the graphing method for quadratic and linear is going to be completely different. And the same thing actually for using a table of values as well is going to be a little different. But yeah, I do have a ton of videos on graphing quadratics, graphing linear, but you do have to kind of know exactly what you're looking for, because I have so many videos on that. So if you want to be a little bit, if you want to clarify maybe a little bit more, then I can definitely maybe direct you to what you want to be looking for. The Google form is closed. You know what? I think it should be closed. Why does it say closed? That's weird. Let me see. All right, let me try it. All right. Okay, hold on a second. I guess I got to change my settings. Hold on a second, guys. I will. Total size for all upload files. Okay. Well, let me see. Sorry, got to change this. All right, now let's try it. Boom. Okay, cool. It should be open now. So give it a shot. If you do have a math question, I do apologize. I don't think anybody else reached out to me with a question from on there. So I do apologize for that. But go ahead and check that if you do not mind. Who asked? Who told me that? Thank you so much. Well, and hey, Gabe, how are you? Good to have you on. Tomato, can you confirm? I'm going to look for your comment since you're the first person, at least that I saw, that let me know that it was closed. So I do appreciate that. But if you can go ahead and check the link that I just posted and let me know if that works. I do not teach statistics, Notter. Sorry, unfortunately, no. Well, happy to be able to help, Kai. And do you have a family? I do. I have a wife and 3 daughters. I I think I don't know if things have changed so much, and I don't really spend a lot of time with SAT, ACT. I'd recommend maybe taking both, or you know, maybe see if there's something that wherever you're going prefers one or the other. Talk with maybe your counselor and kind of see what might be the best fit for you, and also like what you're going into. I know a lot of times, sometimes, one would be more math heavy than the other, and maybe if you're going into more of a mathematical field, one would be more looked upon than the others. So, but again, yeah, I'd just speak with a counselor to kind of see what would be the best for you. Solving systems of linear equations. Yeah, I would use elimination unless you have a variable solved. So if you have something solved for a variable, then use substitution. Otherwise, just always use elimination. And elimination can be pretty quick, pretty easy, from on there. I do have I think another video on tips of solving systems of equations that you can maybe go ahead and take a look at and see if maybe that would help you out. I'm actually going to probably be remaking that video as well. So are you talking about the graph or are you talking about from the function? So it does matter. So I'd kind of want to know from on there because basically the range is the set of all y values that make up the equation. So, but you do kind of need to know which one you're kind of referring to. I'm sorry, if you're referring to finding the range from a graph, right? Or finding the range from a function. Those are kind of two different processes. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much, Phantom. I hope you're enjoying my summer. So far, so good. I can. I mean, it's right below, but I'll try to see. I mean, it's also in the. Confirm with me. I mean, it also is in the. It is in the. In the description, but I'll go ahead and post it here as well for you. But yeah, it is in the description for you. Actually, where is this? Yeah. Yeah, just go and check out the description. If it's not working for you, Moses, then let me know from there. Link is dead. Okay, well, which link is dead? I don't know which link you're talking about. So if you go to link in the description, which is the same link that's in there. Shouldn't be dead. Looks like it's working for me. Yeah, so if you want to go ahead and try that, how do you know friends of 10? I'm not sure. I know this is a general question, but did you make a video about identifying conic sections by the general form? Yeah, I've made multiple of those videos. Is sophomore, but none of them with the rotating, just horizontal and vertical. Is sophomore year important as well for college? Because I got a 3.5. Well, awesome. Congrats. Yeah, I think all of years are going to be important. Obviously, I know sometimes they can be more important over the other, but yeah, I think that's awesome. Why would not? That's weird. Okay. Cool. All right, let's go and see. Did I get any more questions? I got one. All right, cool. All right, let's go and see. Maybe I didn't delete these from last time. Yes, disc method, not going to be doing calculus, just not yet. These are completely befunneled. Can you help? Okay. Do you mind if you give me a quick summary of how to find the volume of a triangular prism? Yes, go ahead and find the base of the triangle. Okay, so find the base of the triangle and then multiply by the length. So find the base, because basically you got to think about, it's like stacking pancakes, right? So, you have the pancakes and you find the area of the pancake and then you just multiply it by how many pancakes you're topping. So like whatever the base is, just think of that as like one pancake and then you just keep on topping them. So go ahead and find the area of the base and then multiply it by the height or the length or whatever it is that you see that base being extended. Factor by grouping, we did that. Okay, so cool. Got that one done too. Find the discontinuities. All right. Okay. Find the discontinuities of the function. Well, I can do this one. Let's go ahead and switch this up to here. Cool. All right. Let me go and take your question real quick. So if you guys do any more questions, feel free to go and submit them on from there. Yes, Phantom, that's probably correct. I mean, unless I have a lot of questions, then I'll just probably keep on going probably for, till some questions kind of run out. But yeah, we'll be a short little stream, which is fine because I just got in for painting. So I need to go in and like wash off because I'm wearing like a sweaty shirt. So it's not very comfortable. All right, cool. But if you guys do have more questions, then go ahead and submit them to the link and I'll be more than happy to address. All right. So given the function, find the discontinuities. Okay. So the first thing, whenever you have a rational function and you're looking into like discontinuities or graphing, like it's usually always helpful to go ahead and just simplify this. So there's really nothing I can do in the numerator. However, in the denominator, I can look into this as factoring, like, right? So, how could I factor this? So a couple things I look at the last number, which is positive, right? So therefore I'm going to take the factors of 8 and I'm going to add them. So what factors of 8 are going to add to give me a 6? Forget about the negative for a second. So what two factors add to 8? Well, let's just think of the factors of 8. 8 and 1 and 4 and 2. Well, obviously 8 and 1 go to 9, so 4 and 2 give me 6. Cool. So therefore I have an x and 4 and an x and a 2, right? Now we need to determine, are they positive or are they negative? Well, obviously a negative times a negative, they have to both be the same sign, right? Because a positive times a positive is a positive and a negative times a negative is a positive, right? That's what happens when the last number is going to be positive. So since my middle term is going to be a negative, then that means these both have to be negative. So therefore this is factored. Okay. So therefore I have this as an x minus 2 times an x minus 4. All right. So the next thing I want you to recognize here is whenever I have like 4 divided by, let's say 4 times 3, right? These 4s divide out, right? You could obviously rewrite this as 4 over 12, right? Or you could just reduce this, right, to a 1/3. So the important thing is whenever things are separated by multiplication, you can apply what we call the division property, which means terms are going to divide out. So I'm going to put these in parentheses just so you can see that these are exactly the same, and therefore they can be divided out because these are separated by multiplication. So therefore I have g of x is equal to a 1 over a x minus 4. Okay. So now let's go and talk about the discontinuities. So discontinuities are going to be values that are not defined for your function. That means they're not going to be in the domain. So what numbers are not in the domain of a rational function? Well, when we just have for a rational function, those are going to be the values that are going to make the denominator equal to 0. So we have two values that made the denominator equal to 0. We had x equals 2, right? That made the denominator equal to 0. But what happened? That got divided out. So if you go back to the original problem, right? If you go back to the original problem, 2 is still going to make the denominator equal to 0. And again, like just plug in your work. Like you can look at it in factored form, right? 2 minus 2 is 0. 0 times x minus 4 is 0. So before I even simplified it, 2 still makes the denominator equal to 0. However, you can see that it gets divided out, right? You can divide it out. You can simplify it out. So that's what we call a removable discontinuity. So a removable discontinuity is a whole. So I can say at x equals 2 is a whole, which we call a removable discontinuity. Now, the other number that gives me make my denominator equal to 0 is going to be a 4, right? Because when you plug in 4 in for x, 4 minus 4 is 0, and that's going to make the denominator equal to 0. However, that could not be divided out, right? So that is what we call a non-removable discontinuity, which is a vertical asymptote. So at x equals 4, we have a asymptote. Okay, so there you go. Hopefully that was helpful. All right. Well, yeah, you're in 8th grade math. I mean, this is usually something that we deal in like algebra 2 and pre-calculus. So don't worry, you are perfectly okay. You are probably right along and where you need to be. All right. So best thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and find the domain of the inverse. So just remember that the domain of the inverse is the range of the function. So, so yeah, that's exactly what you're going to want to do. So if you have a particular problem that you want me to do, then go ahead and shoot it over. Otherwise, that's what you want to do. You want to find the domain of the inverse. Sorry, I don't have time to go back. I'm working through some calculus at the moment, so I just don't have time at the moment to kind of work through it from on there. All right, cool. Chloe, you're starting quadratic functions. Are you, what part to where are you from? Or are you taking summer classes, or are you in a different part of the world, or maybe school is just starting up? Just interested to know. So otherwise, that's all the math that I have, unless you guys have anything else sent in. If you have any specific questions, then feel free to send them over to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. Or you can just, whatever general questions, feel free to add them in on the chat, and I'll be answer them for, I don't know, 10 more minutes, I guess, everything. And then it's time for me to get ready for the week for you. So definitely got some cool videos that I'm excited to have coming out for you guys. And so yeah, definitely talking about my kind of math journey. I have one about taking math in the summer, which actually I should have done like 2 weeks ago. And then yeah, and then I got some math problems on synthetic division coming out. Rational functions actually is going to be coming out. So we'll talk about more of those discontinuities. And yeah, maybe if there's anything else you guys have, any tips for geometry finals. I think the same thing for any finals is, just kind of go back through your tests, go back through your quizzes, go back through the, go back through your tests, go back through your quizzes, go back over your homework, re-look at everything, and, just kind of summarize, right? Awesome, Chloe. Well, best of luck. You got this, Amar. You got this. All right, I'll give a shot under the circle theorem. I'm having a hard time finding the function on the graph. I'm not sure exactly what you're meaning, Jack, but if you want to submit a question to the forum, that might be a little bit easier for me to go and take a look at. Intermediate value theorem to show that the function fx. Okay. Not sure if I'm gonna. It's been a while since I've done the intermediate problem like this, but so I'll give it a shot. So basically, the intermediate value theorem is, going to say whenever you have a continuous function. So it's really important that you know that you have a continuous function. That between any 2 points, there has to exist a point. Oh, come on. There will be a point that's going to exist between those 2 points, and something like that. I don't know. It's been a while since I wrote it down. So what we're going to do here is I want to go ahead and this is not factorable. I'm not saying this is factorable. Oh, that's really annoying. All right. Come on. You serious? All right. So I'm going to do one of the zeros then. I'm not going to do both of them. Oh, crap. I didn't charge this. Okay. So typically it'd be nice if you could factor it, but in this case, we can't factor it. So let's go and use the quadratic formula. Plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Okay. So remember, this is ax squared plus abx plus c. So I have opposite of b, so that's going to be negative 11 plus or minus the square root of 11 squared minus a 4 times 1 times c, which is a negative 20. And that's going to be all over a 2 times 1. All right, so let's go ahead and figure out what this is going to be. Negative 11 plus or minus, let's see, that's going to be 121 and then plus 80. And we're going to take the square root of that. So that'd be 201 divided by 2. All right, so So I have a negative, so let's take the square root of 201, right, plus a negative 11 divided by 2. So I have a 1.588, or approximately, right? I'm going to be rounding here. Or negative 11 minus, oh crap. Come on. So negative 11 minus that answer. Come on. There you go, divided by 2. All right, or a negative 12.58. Okay, so what it's showing is basically what I'm seeing is I have a 0 here. Well, let's call this A and let's call this B. Okay, so there's a point here and there's a B point here. Now, looking at this quadratic, looks like, yeah, it's probably going to go something like there. Okay, so the intermediate value theorem, basically the way I can test that is just to go ahead and pick a value to the left of A and to the right of B. And if to the left is negative or positive, right, and to the right is going to be positive or negative, that means that that graph has to cross the x-axis. So let's just go ahead and check out what f of 0 would be. So if I plug in f of 0, right, so I'm going to have a 0 squared plus 11 times 0 minus 20. You guys see? Hopefully, let me see where that's at. Okay, yeah. So when I find f of 0, okay, so when I get f of 0, I get a negative 20. Cool, okay. Now let's go and check out what f of 2 is. So let's plug in a 2. So f2 squared plus 11 times 2 minus 20. Okay, so therefore that's going to be a 4 plus 22 minus 20, which is going to be a 6. So basically what we have here is we have a negative 20, right? And then at 2, we're at 6. Okay, so basically what the intermediate value theorem is saying is like if you went from negative 20 and you went from 6, right, and A is some point in between there, then at some point you had to cross the x-axis, right? So basically what you want to do is find the zeros and then pick a point to the left and to the right, and you should go from a negative to a positive or a positive to a negative. Now, again, we know kind of what this graph looks like. So for B, to the left of B, you should have a negative value, and then to the right, you should have a positive. So hopefully that was semi-helpful for you. All right. Well, bye. Well, hopefully that was helpful. Hey, Brian, I'm going to do pre-calculus honors next year, and I want to prepare myself as best as possible. I noticed you have a whole course on pre-calculus. If I take it over the summer, would it be a good prep? I mean, yeah. I mean, it's basically exactly what I teach for pre-calculus. So, I mean, it's literally would be you taking pre-calculus. So I do have if you're just looking for something to like get ready, I do have a free get ready for pre-calculus course that you can definitely will help prepare you for it. And then, but yeah, I mean, like my course is not I mean, it can definitely prepare you, but it should, I mean, obviously my course is not like a very difficult it's not like an IB pre-calculus. So obviously there's definitely some different rigor that you'll get from pre-calculus, but yeah, I would definitely say that my course, if you went through the course, which should be, it is defined for you to be able to self-study, that you could definitely, it'll definitely over prepare you, I would say, for pre-calculus, and hopefully just make it extremely easy for you. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, on Discord and stuff like that. But yeah, I haven't talked more about it, but usually after July, I'll start promoting it more. But but yeah, if you want to go in from there, you can definitely go and check it out as well. Yes, it was definitely very hard. It took like my first 3 to 5 years before I could really get comfortable, I think, teaching. We were helping less sushi. Constantly, not sure if I have any exact questions for you or exactly help. I'm not sure. I don't deal a lot with probability and statistics. Okay. I mean, there's tons of tips and tricks, from that. I think it just really kind of comes down to practice. And the more problems you do, the more kind of tricks and tips that you're going to kind of see organically on your own. Well, awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And best of luck to Peter. Yes, that is correct. Do you think age is a factor in learning math effectively? Yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, I don't think it's a factor, but I think we definitely like understanding mathematics takes a certain level of maturity. So not everybody's going to be at the same maturity level, like mentally. And that's like one thing, like, I taught a lot of students that were in pre-calculus, like were sophomores and they were struggling with it. And I was like, guys, like I didn't take this till I was a freshman in college. Like it's okay. It's like sometimes your brain is just not is just not ready for some of this upper level mathematics. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like give yourself time. It's okay. You don't need to put so much pressure on yourself to have to, pass this class or have to be so good at it. And a lot of times when students would struggle, I would, they would get a D or an F and I'm like, hey, that's the grade I, feel you deserve. Like, but it's okay. Like, I know you're capable of doing better. You're just gonna have to come back at it. And that's perfectly fine. And I think it was a lot of times very difficult for students to hear that, but I think it was absolutely the truth that, not everybody is able and capable of taking calculus in high school. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. How can I improve in Algebra 2 fundamentals since I had a solid knowledge with Algebra 2 materials? I'm not sure, but I just recommend kind of going back through all the stuff. I think it would be very helpful. Especially your notes and stuff like that, and constantly going back to older work, right? Just don't always be focusing on, what you're constantly doing, but constantly doing like a spiral review, going back through old tests and old quizzes, and reviewing that stuff, I think will always help you out. Awesome. So happy to help. Yes. Right now, this is not a very great time on my channel for math, but yeah, usually the beginning of the year and testing season at the end of the year are usually kind of my big points on my channel. And hey, Tamika, do a forward PDF homeworks. Okay. Yes, 127 live streams, pretty much straight. I did basically a year before that as well, but yeah, this has been 127 live streams right away. Yeah, I think learning definitely takes some love too. I mean, I think if when a lot of students like hate math, I mean that's going to impede them being able to really understand the content, right? So I think that I totally agree with that. Well, hey, Michael. I would definitely say pre-calculus is more I would say in general, pre-calculus is more difficult than for students than algebra 2, and also for students that are going into calculus. I would say more students, I think, struggled with my course in pre-calculus than did with when I taught algebra 2 or when I taught calculus. So I definitely think pre-calculus is one of, and it's not, and again, not to scare you, not to be like pre-calculus is like this really difficult course, because it's not. The problem with pre-calculus is a lot of students treat pre-calculus like algebra 2 or like an algebra 3, and it's not. They can't get by with what they like were able to get by with like algebra 1, geometry, and algebra 2. So they have to change the way they think. They have to change the way they approach math. They have to change their studying habits. I had a lot of students that say like, oh, I never had to study for a math test. And then pre-calculus comes along and then it's like, crap, I have to like study for this stuff. Right. And, but once they are successful and understand that for calculus, like they get it, and even though I think the material in calculus is more difficult than pre-calculus, but students have been trained and understand how to behave for upper level mathematics. So they're better prepared for it. And so yeah, and they do better in that regard. So I would definitely say kind of pre-calculus is kind of one of those gatekeepers of courses for sure. But again, not to scare you. Why is that done? How do you prepare for advanced functions? I do not know. Like I said, I think advanced functions is very similar to pre-calculus. I believe advanced functions is a very common course in Canada. So from what I've seen, a lot of students that took my pre-calculus course last year also were taking advanced functions, and it seemed very similar. So I'll be talking about preparing for pre-calculus coming up here, and I just recommend that you take a look at some of those content, seeing what's in advanced functions, and see if that's going to benefit for you as well. Yeah, if you have a question, just go to brianmcclogan.com/Q&A and shoot it over to me. Yeah, I think teachers have a big responsibility, and a big part in students learning. So, you still control your learning, right? I mean, so find what's going to work from you. And I do apologize. I feel sorry that you've had a bad experience, with teachers and learning, but just also know that, like, even though teachers can have a huge impact on your learning and your kind of life in general, like, still you are in control of what you're capable of, right? So make sure you get the help that you need, get the instruction that you need, and keep on putting in the work. um, can you go into graphing quadratic equations? Yeah, I mean, just submit if you have any questions, submit them, and then I'm more than happy to go through. Yeah, my exam time, good old Michigan. Well, hey, I'm originally from Michigan, so I definitely know. Yeah, you guys start a lot later. The old after Labor Day, they changed back there because, yeah, I mean, in Florida we start like second week in August. I mean, it's boom, August comes and, like, we do not wait for Labor Day at all, which is fun. I always remember going up, like, we always went up north for Labor Day, so, like, I mean, I did always enjoy it. It was always kind of like the last little hurrah, before the school year starts. But I do like getting my year finished around before Memorial Day, and then it's like, hey, the summer, like, we're done, so I do think that is a big benefit. Do you like so in your school? Yeah, the I did like math. I didn't really like math till, like, later on. But yeah, there's really wasn't many other classes that I really liked. I wanted to become a teacher, and I realized that math was kind of one of those weird classes that I kind of enjoyed over everything else. So it's kind of weird. If you have a question specifically, then shoot over to me. I mean, I can talk about even odd functions a lot, but I'm not sure what I can talk about that would actually help you. So, but if you have specific questions, I can go off of that. Should I take calculus in 12th grade? I have absolutely no idea. I would definitely talk with your counselor and, definitely take a look at, like, what programs, like in dentist school that you're going to need. My assumption would be no. I was a math major and I didn't take calculus until I was in sophomore year of college. So I definitely think that you have some time if that's, not going to be pressure. But if you're, like, prepared and you're, like, want to take it, then, and you don't have a heavy course load, then, I'd say go for it. Like, from on there. Um, I actually literally just made a video on that. That I'll probably release it over the summer. But yeah, I just to kind of give you a quick synopsis of the, my content or what I'll talk about. That's literally like this question in a nutshell. But yeah, I just, I struggle with math, but, like, the process of struggling through math, I understood I really enjoyed, like, overcoming the struggles, and actually kind of enjoyed math. A little bit weird, kind of like that pain torture, like, it was kind of fun, kind of thing going on. And so, yeah, that was why I just kind of decided to continue on, or, yeah, become a math teacher. I don't know anything about chemistry except what I took in high school. I am not personally connected with Khan Academy or organic chemistry teacher, unfortunately. But if you have any context, let me know. I never liked math and was never a math person, but I'm not very impressed on how you grabbed how you. But I'm very. Oh, I thought you said not very impressed. I'm like, oh, okay. We're probably you grab math and now you're a teacher. Good thing you were motivated. Yes, it's well. Yeah, it was. You know, I don't. I don't know where the kind of motivation really kind of came from. I think it was just kind of one of those things. I really enjoyed teaching. I really enjoyed. I think one of the things kind of to um, whose question, who made it? Yeah, Tobito made a point, was like, having good teachers, which I definitely agree with, because, I think one of the things that I wanted to become math teachers, like, I had really good math teachers when I was in high school that were like role models for me, right? They coached sports. They were my coaches. Like, I looked up to them. And I think that is important. I really do think that we need to make sure we have good, high quality teachers. And that's, that does impact students' learning. Like, Tobito is 100% correct on that. So, and I think that I just kind of looked up to them and wanted to kind of follow a little bit maybe in their footsteps in that regard. I don't think kind of explicitly, but implicitly, that's what I think I was probably following through. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think there's kind of like that little accomplishment. I kind of like the puzzles, a little challenge, it kind of just became a little fun. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't until like really my senior year I kind of liked math, and then after before that it was kind of. What do you think the ideal grade in pre-calc for a student to take AP Calculus? How should the student know if they should take AP? Well, if you're going to take AP, I think your grade on pre-calculus, I'm going to approach this differently. I think if you get a C or better in pre-calculus, then you are good enough to go into calculus, in my general. If you get a D, there's a D or below. It's not saying you can't do it, but then you're like kind of like me, where you're going to have to put in a lot of work. You're going to have to be extremely motivated and put in a lot of work to catch up on some of the stuff that you missed. And most students, I just don't think are able or willing to do that, right? Unless there was obviously a circumstance of why you got lower grades, right? COVID or sickness or whatever may be the case, right? But typically, if you're at least getting a C or better, like, obviously even a C or a B, like they're missing some information, but you can overcome that. And I would generally kind of say a C or better, you can do it. Now, as far as if you're going to take AP Calculus, I mean, it depends. I don't know what your school offers, like Calc AB, Calc ABBC, honors calculus. What are you taking calculus for? Why do you need calculus? What are you going to have to retake it in college? Like, is your college requesting that you need it? Like, are you going into a math field, or are you going into a math related field, like a hearts, physical science? Like, it all really kind of depends. I really don't like the idea of students just taking AP classes just to take AP classes. I mean, it's great, to get some credits, right, and save some money. But I think a lot of times we've also kind of gotten overboard where it's like this huge competition thing and it's like a bragging rights. So I would just, make sure, and a lot of students will just overtake classes and they're extremely stressed out and extremely overwhelmed with, the course load that they're taking. So I think just be like smart, be strategic on what classes you're taking, why you're taking them, and then put all your effort into those classes. Right. And because I've seen so many students that have just tried to, take on too much. And then they realize, like, what am I doing that for? And, or after they did that, it's like, why I was going through all that, so just really make sure you kind of know what you're doing. And again, if you don't, like, that's fine. Like I said, I didn't take calculus until sophomore year of college and I have a math major. So, don't feel like you have to rush through everything, even if you are in a heavy math field. Like, you can definitely, regroup and focus in on different times. Like, I want you to enjoy some of the schooling as well. Like, yes, schooling is important, good grades is important, but I want you also to enjoy the process. And I've seen a lot of students as teachers that have just been, I wouldn't say ruined their year, but it was very hard, taxing on them for what they try to set up for. I have taught, advanced, I have taught it, or something like that before, but I don't know, like a geometry honors, not really advanced geometry. Jack, if you can go and shoot that to the form, it's much easier for me to go and take any math questions, off the form. Some really good studying techniques. I would do creating a cheat sheet. I would do spiral reviewing. I think doing covering up practice problems, like in your notes, and trying to do them on your own, and then showing you the answer is really helpful. And then if you get it wrong, then you'll get another sheet of paper, cover up the work, and then try to work through a problem. So I think, anytime you're doing problems where you have like a work through solution is very helpful. And the reason why I created that was, because when I was doing math, I didn't have answers online. So I had to only work through problems that I knew what the worked out solution was. Right. So that's what I did. I'd just practice a lot of them over and over again. Well, I'm sorry you're quitting IB. But I get it too. Like IB is not for everybody, nor does it need to be. And there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I wish you all the best on your finished exams and what's next. There's many, many other pathways. Bench armor is one of my subjects. Ooh, okay. No word problems. That makes me too much thinking. My brain already hurts. Jessica, I need help with this question using substitution method. Jessica, if you can send that over to the form, then I'll go ahead and take a look at a couple math questions. Same thing, Stephanie. If you guys can just submit them on the form, it's much easier for me to be able to take a look at those questions from on there. That's where I get my math questions from. All right. What do you have a question? What do you do if you have a question like determine the value of sine of 42 to 4 decimal places? Well, you type it in your calculator. So I'll just do it. A couple things you need to make sure. Let's see. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. There we go. All right, let's see what other questions we got here. Oh, man, my brain hurts. Prefix and even and odd functions. Okay. I was hoping for an example, but try to do my best. So where's the original? So AP class is going to be for advanced placement, meaning you're going to get some, obviously if you pass the exam, then you'll have some college credit, or you have the opportunity, or colleges will accept it, you'll give you college credit. For the IB, I'm not sure if they have that, but also there's a different certification that you're going to have for those IB classes. And I believe some of them will, it all depends on like your university that you're applying to, if they will accept certain classes for college credit. But no, they are not the same though as well. They definitely have their own certification and guidelines. Or at least as far as I'm understanding, I've never taught from the IB curriculum. Transformations. I don't know what you mean on. So I'm not sure who submitted in there, but if you wonder if you give me a brief explanation of what a transformation, please. I'm not sure what that question means. And hey, Raf, good to have you on. Hey, Mr. Libby, good to have you on. Okay, have you ever taught geometry before? If so, I was wondering that if you could give me a brief explanation what transformations is. So transformations is, okay. All right, then I'm going to have to shut down so I can get through some of these questions. Wait, how many do I have? Okay, all right. No more questions. All right. You guys are bombarding me. Now it's late. I thought I was gonna end this live stream earlier. Check your solutions. Yeah. Oh, you got this, hey, Ralph. You got this. I think they're pretty close. I'm not very familiar with advanced functions. From what I understand, it's a lot from Canada, from on there, like in the Canadian educational system, and so I believe it's very, very similar to with pre-calculus. Yeah, I haven't really just been very excited with ACT, SAT. I know a lot of students still like need help, with it from on there, but I don't know. It's never been really anything that's really like excited me to be able to do all that. So maybe though, never say never though, for sure. Um, and Jack, I'm sorry. I have to go back and look. I haven't done solving rational inequalities in a while, so I'd have to go ahead and take a look back there as far as on the number line. Um, Sorry, I just need something. I don't handle a lot of questions that I don't have. I haven't taught anything from solving rational inequalities in a while, and I don't even have any videos on solving rational inequalities. So I'd have to go and like take a look back and just kind of review at least my instructional style. So I apologize for that. But I will actually not delete your question, and I maybe we'll see if I can get back to it next week for you. So I apologize for that, but I will try to keep it open because I do want to kind of like go back through and I'll address that for you. But sorry from there. All right. So let me go and handle this one. Yeah, so that's Jack. So yeah, you're Canadian. So awesome. So yeah, that's probably from what I saw, a lot of students took advanced functions or took my pre-calculus class that was in advanced functions, and they a lot of the content was exactly the same. All right. All right, guys. I got a problem number 4. Okay. Oh, your exam is tomorrow. No. All right. Well, I'm not gonna be able to do this one. All right, Zach. Well, I'm not ready. All right. Well, let me go and try it. I will. I'll badger it. So let's just see if I did it. Let's see if I'll do it correctly, and then I'll give it a shot for number 1. Which one did you say? 13. Preferably D. All right. Let's just see if I can remember it. So D, you're gonna want to. Hmm. Um. I do not. Let me go and see. All right, let me go and get through these questions and then I'm going to take a look at. Yeah, so you got to find the critical points and then set in from there. Okay, well, I mean, gotcha. So that's when it's all set equal to 0. Oh, okay. I gotcha. Okay. All right. I understand what to do. All right. So I will do number D. So that doesn't sound like fun, but let's go ahead and give it a shot. What are you doing to me? I'm supposed to go to bed, guys. But Jack, I don't know. Feel like I can help you out here. Hopefully. So let's see. All right. Feel like doing some math. Okay. All right. What do we got here? All right, guys. I am done answering questions, or at least taking questions. Sorry. But I will get into the math. All right. Let's go over it. So please do not submit any more questions. I'm not going to get them tonight. But for this question, just says, how do you find the sine of 42? So the main thing you want to do is make sure in your calculator, make sure you do have your mode in degrees. So that's a very big mistake that students will make, especially for testing. For all you taking a test tomorrow or this week, make sure that you are in degree mode whenever you are, or I'm sorry, typically you're going to want to be in radian mode, but whenever you're taking this, trigonometric functions, make sure you are in the correct degree mode. So you make sure your mode is in degrees. Okay. And therefore the sine 42 degrees equals 0.6691. Okay. Then obviously that's going to keep on going on and on and on forever. Okay. So briefly explain. Well, even has y axis symmetry. So the best way I like to think about this is the quadratic. Okay. It is symmetrical about the y-axis. So if I say, let's say f of, let's call this b. So f of a is equal to b, right? And guess what? F of negative a is also equal to b. Okay? So the positive and the negative is going to give you the exact same value. We're dealing with an odd that has a origin symmetry. So the best way I like to think about that is like the x cubed. Okay, so y equals x cubed. And the basic way to understand is like x squared, x to the fourth, anything with an even power is going, anything with an even or all even powers is going to be even. Anything with an odd or all odd powers is going to be odd. But once you start dealing with multiple odds and evens or with numbers, then it kind of changes a little bit and you got to be, that's, you said briefly. So I'm just giving you a brief explanation. So in this one, if I say f of a, that equals b, right? Let's say here's b, but then notice here, negative a, right? That's negative a. F of negative a equals negative b. So see how those kind of points relate to on there. Okay, so when you plug in a negative a, then you're going to get the negative value of that. Well, hey, good to have you on. What? Sure say? Do you think open tests are as effective as retaining information? Yes, for sure. As long as you have enough, as long as it's like a, oh no, I got double things. But yeah, I think as far as your math, the as far as if you have multiple questions, then students won't have time to like check up on everything. Have you ever taught geometry before? Yes, I have. Have you run an explanation of transformations? Yeah. So transformations, you could have so transformations is just a kind of a blanket term for all the different ways we can kind of like move something. Okay. So let's just take I don't know, a rectangle. Let's do a triangle. We love triangles, right? Okay. So we could slide that, right? Or translate. Oh, geez, I can't even write. Translation, which is like a slide. Okay. We could reflect. So, okay, we could reflect, which is kind of like the same thing as flip, right? Or we could translation, slide, reflect. We could rotate, which is kind of like the same thing as like turn, right? If we could rotate it about the point. So if you kind of think about like turning it 90 degrees, or we could dilate, which is going to be like stretch or compress, right? So, hey, well, thank you, the rappers from the Rabbit. Thanks for being my favorite math too. Well, you are very welcome, and thank you so much for the super chat. I very much greatly appreciate that. Rotate and turn, and then, or we could do a dilation, which would be like, a, stretch or compression, right? So dilation, which is going to be a stretch or stretch or shrink. So those are all the different ways we can do that. That is just a brief explanation. Hopefully that was helpful. I've actually never taught either of those courses before. So, but I'd probably say I enjoyed multiple variable calculus, but at least as a student. All right, use the substitution method, the solution. So we have y equals negative x minus 14. Okay, and negative x plus y is equal to a 24. Okay, so we know y is equal to a negative x minus 14. So all we're simply going to do is we're going to take that expression and plug it in for that y. So now I have negative x plus parentheses negative x minus a 14 equals 24. Okay, now I don't really need the parentheses, right? But if I have a plus and minus, that's the same thing as really minus, right? So it's negative x minus a 14 equals 24. Okay, so because again, right, like if I said 5 plus a negative 2, that's the same thing as 5 minus 2. Agreed? So that's why I don't really need the parentheses there. So if you owe me $1 and then you borrow another $1, right? So if you owe me $1 and then you take another $1 from me, you now owe me $2. So negative x minus x is going to be a negative 2x minus 14 equals 24. So we'll add a 14 to both sides. Negative 2x equals what? A 38. Divide by 2, negative 2. And x equals a negative 19. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a negative 19. That's my x, and now I need to be able to figure out what my y is. So I'm going to say y equals a negative 19 minus 14. Minus a negative 19 is going to be a positive 19, so y equals a positive 19 minus a 14. Y is equal to 5. And then you have your x, and now you have your y. Ms. William, thank you so much for your help. I studied all of your videos, 12,000 of them, as a review through college, and now I'm teaching math. Well, awesome. That's so awesome. I still learn from your teacher. Well, great. That's so awesome. And thank you so much for going back and becoming a teacher. I think it's a wonderful profession, and I love the 14 years that I was a teacher. And I know, there's just keep on looking, just like anything else. Keep on looking every year to get better and better. Okay. Let's go and get this one on for you, Jack. Thank you so much for holding on for me. So this instruction is not going to be very good. All right. But I'll try to do my best. So the main thing we want to do when we have the rational equation is set it equal to 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them to the same side. Now I'm just going to get them to the left-hand side. All right. Because we want our rational function to be equal or greater than, less than, whatever, to 0. So I'm going to have an x over a x plus 5 minus a x minus 1 all over x plus 7, right, is going to be greater than 0. Okay, now I need to combine these. So I got to get my common denominator. So x plus 7, top, and then over here I got to get common denominators, which is going to be x plus 5. So unless you can simplify your denominators, usually the fastest, easiest way to get common denominators is just to multiply by the other denominator. I'm going to have to apply a little distributive property here. This is going to be tricky because it's subtraction. So make sure you use FOIL here and then keep that negative there. So therefore I have an x squared plus 7x minus, all right, now let's go ahead and I'm going to use brackets here. So let's go and do this. So that's going to be an x squared, let's see, plus 4x minus 5. Hopefully you're okay with my FOIL rather quickly. And if I make a mistake, let me know. So that's going to be an x plus 7 and times an x plus 5. Again, I'm going to put this in factored form. Make sure that's greater than 0. I'm just going to leave it in factored form. So let's go ahead and rewrite this now. So I have an x squared plus 7x minus an x squared minus 4x plus 5. x plus 7 times an x plus 5, okay, is greater than 0. So let's see, those are going to add to 0. So therefore I'm left with a 3x plus 5 all over an x plus 7 and an x plus 5. Okay, now to determine when this is going to be greater than 0, we need to do is basically find what we call our critical value. So what we're going to do is we're going to set our numerator equal to 0, equal to 0. We're going to set our denominator, which is going to be basically the zero product property, equal to 0, and we're going to go and solve. So therefore, x is going to be equal a negative 5/3, x equals a negative 7, and x equals a negative 5, right? Just go ahead and solving there. So now I'm going to do is take a number line, and I'm going to say, all right, so now again, this is technically like what, a negative 1 2/3, right? Because 3 goes into 5 one time with 2 remaining. So let's say here's 0. So we have a negative 5/3, right? Here, let's do like negative 1. This would be like negative 2. Let's say like here's negative 5, negative 6, negative 7. Okay, so here's one critical value. Here's our other critical value. And here's another critical value. Okay, so basically what we want to do is to determine if it's going to be positive or negative is just go ahead and pick values to the left as well as to the right of our critical values to determine if it's going to be increasing or decreasing. So, so I have this simplified form, right? So I have 3x plus 5 over a x plus 7 times an x plus 5. Okay, it's greater than 0. All right, so let's just go ahead and test different values. So let's test x equals a negative 8. All right, is that going to be greater than 0 or less than 0? So if I plug that in there, that'd be a negative 24 plus 5. That equals a negative 19. And then over here, this is going to be a negative 1 times negative 3, right? Negative 1 times negative 3, which is going to be a positive 3. Okay, so that is going to not be, sorry, that's, forget about the 0. Okay, I want to know, is that going to be less than or equal to 0? That is going to be less than 0, right? So that's going to be a negative. Let's test x equals negative 6. No, they're not like asymptotes. So the asymptotes, obviously, when you're looking at the asymptotes, that's going to, your vertical asymptotes is going to be at negative 7 and negative 5, right? But we also have to include our critical value, which is going to be our numerator of this example as well. So the numerator set equals 0 is going to be like your y-intercept. So that's going to be when the y is equal to 0, that's going to be the y-intercept of the graph. So that's your critical values are going to be where your graph can change from positive to negative. Okay. So, but yes, they do include the vertical, they do include the asymptotes, but all asymptotes are going to be your critical, or will be critical values, but not all critical values are asymptotes, to give you a kind of, to make it more confusing. Let's go and check negative 6. So negative 6 is negative 18 plus 5, which is going to be a negative 3. So the number line is, basically just a way for us to test our value. So for instance, let me kind of do this. Let's pretend the graph looks like this. Come on. Actually, you know what? Yeah, screw it. Whatever. I'll just pretend I'll just give you an example graph here real quick. Okay. Let's pretend here's what the graph looks like, okay? Because you need to kind of understand this. So here's the graph. Or here's a graph. I have no idea what the graph looks like, but this is a rational function graph. And we got some crazy things going on, right? And let's say this is at negative 3. Let's pretend this is at 2 and this is at 0. Okay. So what I want you to understand here is this graph is, so it's increasing. So here it's increasing, right? From here to here, it's increasing. From here to here, it's decreasing. And then from here to here, it's decreasing, right? So what are all the values where it changes? Those are what we call the critical values. So the critical values is where it's changing, which is at 0, negative 3, and 2. So notice how -3 and 2 are asymptotes and they're critical values, but notice how 0 is not an asymptote. So what I'm doing is I'm basically just recreating the graph. So when we're looking at, we don't want to look at all this stuff. This is kind of crazy. So all I'm really going to do is just take -3, 0, and then 2. Now, again, I'm using these, like I'm doing the dotted line, not to really represent asymptotes, but it's just to really like separate the region of what's going on. And so if it was increasing, I'd write a positive. Now it's increasing, will also be a positive. This would be a negative, and that'd be a negative, right? And then we'd be able to identify our intervals that way. And I'm kind of doing the exact same thing over here. Like I chose that one's a negative. Now we're testing -6, right? Is this going to be negative or positive? Again, I don't know what the graph looks like. I'm just determining, is it increasing or decreasing? So let's test -6. So we got negative. So let me know if that helps or if that explains things. So -6, so that's going to be a positive times a negative. So what? 1 times -1. So that'd be -1. So that's going to be positive, right? So that's going to be greater than 0. So that's a positive. Let's go and test -2. Again, you just want to pick a value that's been in between your test values. So -2, that's going to be -6 plus 5. So that's a -1. And then -2 here. So that's going to be a 5 times 3, which would be a 15. So that's going to be less than 0. So it's a negative. And then let's do one more test point, which would be, let's test 0. 0 is easy. So if I was going to test 0, that's going to be 3 times 0 is 0. So that's going to be a 5. And 7 over 5. It's going to be 35. Okay, so that's going to be greater than 0. Oh, sorry about that. So therefore, you can see all I'm doing is I'm just using these test points. Again, how did I pick these test points? These are just values that I randomly chose. These are just points that I randomly chose. I'm putting circles around them just so you can kind of see them. But again, like you could pick like any number that you really wanted to. But again, we notice that, oh, the graph is increasing from -7 to -5. The graph is increasing from -5/3 to infinity, right? Again, we don't know what the graph looks like, right? Now, again, if we knew what the graph looks like, we could easily identify if we knew what the graph looks like, we could easily identify the intervals where it's increasing and decreasing. But I do not have any time to go over any more additional questions for tonight. Sorry. But you can definitely go and submit them into the form in the chat, and I can handle some for next week. So yeah, then you'll just go ahead and plug in this case. So let's go ahead and write in the interval here. So we want to say, when was the graph increasing, right? I think that was your question. Oh, I don't know. So the graph is going to be increasing from -7 to 5. Oops, to -5. And then it's going to be increasing from a -5/3 to infinity. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have to run. Hopefully you guys have a great week. For all of you that have exams coming up, I wish you guys the best of luck, but I will see you guys next week. Cheers.